Hi, you guys. We're excited. I'm Chris Marie,
And I'm Susan.
and we are glad you are here for Speak Up Confidently with Your Opinion. We're having people roll in as we go, but it's 1 o'clock our time.
Yes,
What did you want to say?
well, I was going to say we should also introduce
Oh,
Cody.
Cody, come
Come
online.
on, just so people can see you if you're willing.
There's
Cody is
Cody.
in the background. She's handling everything behind the scenes. She'll be popping in and out today. Well, and also speaking up, as you know, she's agreed to.
Be our wing woman.
Yes, so you will see more of her.
And what we'll do is there's times that we want you to type into the chat box, and that should be over on that right-hand side. There's a little chat window. And when you do that, Cody can see it, and she'll let us know the information. So we're going to go through a few things so that you guys get the hang of it. But we love when you guys share comments, and Cody will interrupt us and ask questions if you have them, so no worries there.
We imagine that we're speaking to you, and we love to know that you're actually out there and who you are. So how about we go ahead and get
started.
going?
Okay.
Yes.
So what we'd like to do is actually have you use that chat box and tell us what your first name is and where you're from. And you can, we'll go on, but Cody will collect your responses and let us know, because we do like to know who we're talking to. And not everybody has to do it, but we'd like to hear a few of you guys.
And then we can go first, because
We
maybe
can
not.
go
You know,
first.
we are actually here in Whitefish, Montana, just outside of Glacier Park, which is
Beautiful.
beautiful. And today happens to be one of the gorgeous days, so
Yes.
that's nice.
And I'm Chris Marie,
And I'm Susan.
if you don't know us. And we'll tell you just a little bit about us more. Our short story is we're life coaches and business consultants and forthcoming authors. We do have a book that is moving down the pike, The Power of Conflict. And we're working life partners. And we started our business in 2002, Thrive. And we spent over 15 years focusing both in business and in couples. It sounds weird, but business, how to actually deal with conflict so that you can get to your business strategy, and we do that. And couples, how to deal with conflict so that you can get to kind of the juice of the relationship.
And really appreciating that conflict isn't something to avoid, but something to engage in, because it's a natural part of any healthy relationship. So
And that's a
plug in for the book, maybe, when it comes out.
or just our point of view
Yes.
of how to use it, because so many of us try to avoid it or get rid of it. And so we also have been, we're mind body coaches. We teach at Haven and do coaching, and we do in-person and virtual programs with leaders and teams, professional women, couples in business. So that's a short story.
So, Cody, have you heard from anyone? Or we have a little bit more we could talk about in case.
Oh,
there
she
she's
has
showing
some.
up. Okay.
We
Go
do have a few brave souls. I obviously will share mine. I'm in Spokane, Washington. We have a couple others across Michigan and Kentucky. We have a couple in Canada. So we have a few kind of spread out all over today.
Excellent.
Not as many brave souls sharing with us, so you guys have to remember to speak up. There's definitely more of you on that aren't talking.
So let us know. We love that. Okay. Well, and I love that we're expanding, to different time zones and different
Yes, I
countries.
don't know if we have. The last couple of times we've had people from the UK. I don't know if we will this time or not. You never know. So
But it's always international, which is
yes.
fun. Okay.
We count Canada as international. Yes.
So we just wanted, since you did dedicate the time and you are here, we want you just to turn off anything that's operating in the background, email, iTunes, anything that'll grab your attention so that you can focus this time on you and silence your cell phone. We think we've done that with ours, but you never
The
know.
only thing we haven't silenced is our dog, who's in
Rosie.
the room. And we hope right now she's silent, so that's a good thing.
But she probably won't stay that way, so just FYI. Okay. Now we'll jump into the content. So who this training, Cody, go ahead.
I had to peek in here because we do have one from Australia that finally spoke up and joined. So I had to share that one.
I think you're the farthest yet so far, so that is really a treat.
True. All right.
Okay. So who this training is for is if you struggle finding your voice or tend to give in when conflict comes up, or you want to feel confident and empowered in your relationships, and deep down in your heart, you know there's more you could do to speak up in your relationships or just in your life in general, both at home and at work.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's who this training is.
Hopefully you fit into that category. Even if you don't, it might be interesting. So
Yes.
let's see.
That's true.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about signs and signals that you can recognize that you've lost your confidence, because a lot of times people don't pick up how that happens to them. And we're going to give you simple tools, actually more than two. We have a bonus tool, 3 tools to help you settle in the moment, real time. And then how to actually access and utilize your energy to build your confidence back. So in the recovery process, let's say you've gone through something and you actually want to build it back up, we're going to give you some information on how to do that. So a lot of good stuff. Okay. Oh,
and we want to mention, stay tuned, because we'll be offering you an opportunity to have access to what we refer to as the 6 intuitive types. And basically, this is material that we worked with and helped to bring forward, but it came through a program we were engaged in over a number of years. And it's all about how to recognize that we access our energy, our intuitiveness differently, and that different styles, there's a spiritual intuitive, emotional intuitive, physical intuitive, mental, physical energy, cosmic, and each of these styles has different ways that they will access their energy in general, but also their intuition. And this was really valuable for me to help me explain some of the major conflicts I was having in my family of origin, but also in other relationships. So we're excited to bring it back out, and stay tuned. We'll tell you more about how to get it.
And it also is helpful. It has been helpful for us individually, but it also helps us in our interpersonal dynamics in our couple, and Susan with your family, but me in my life. And also we're in this, you're going to learn how to balance so that you actually turn up your intuitive energy, your access to your intuitive guidance. So, okay, so stay tuned. We'll tell you how to get that. So we would love to hear from you guys. So this is, again, another chat box opportunity. What causes you to lose your confidence, especially when you're interacting with somebody in a stressful situation? So it's an interpersonal situation. And to help you, we'll actually talk about how we lose our confidence, because it's different. For me, what happens when I'm talking to somebody and I have my opinion and I think, oh, great, I'm going to share it. And then I get a strong energy back, or a really well-delivered argument, and it's fast and there's a lot of data, I actually go, oh my gosh, I can't compete. And I literally, I lose my confidence, and I think, oh, I don't have that much to say, or I won't be able to say anything. So that's where I lose my confidence.
And for me, a lot of times where I lose my confidence is when I interpret or think that somebody has kind of knocked me out of the equation, or somebody, I can actually come, if I think they've knocked somebody else out of the equation, I tend to get, I actually have that moment where it's like my confidence goes away. Like, wow, I feel slain. Like all of a sudden something happened and my knees got knocked out from underneath me.
Okay, so hopefully you'll give us some insight into what causes you to lose your confidence. And Cody, I'll just check in if you've got any answers.
She's got some. Okay. Or you want to tell us?
So I have a couple here that one is when they feel like they hurt someone's feelings, that their delivery wasn't great, and then they back off. Others are when they're surprised by someone's answer or response to something, they can't keep going. And the other is when they feel like they aren't being listened to or well received, they stop.
Yeah.
Okay, those are great.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you for sharing those, you guys. That's perfect. So how do you know you're losing your confidence? So this is kind of more of an internal marker. Like, can you track what's happening inside? And so for me, how I know is it's kind of like if I'm speaking, all of a sudden it's like I rock back on my heels, and it's actually like I curl forward. So I have a physical way of knowing, and it's as if all my energy drains out. And then I'm telling myself painful stories like, they don't want to hear me, so the listening one, they don't want to listen to me. I can't compete. Those are the stories that run. So that's how I know I'm losing my confidence.
And for me, one way I know I'm losing my confidence is I have this rush of energy that it's like a heat-seeking Missile in some respects. It's like and it may sound weird to think if that's losing my energy, but it's like this burst of like fire that comes up. It's heat. Yeah.
And that's how you know you're losing your confidence.
Well,
internally.
Yeah, because I've kind of gone out to attack, and I'll say more about that because I think I need to. And so it's like, and that to me, when I go on the attack, it's often because I have lost my confidence.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Cody, do we have any responses to this one?
Absolutely. We had a couple others on how they lose their confidence that were good, that were feeling that they'd received disapproval or that their opinion wasn't valid. And then kind of how they know is they, they're afraid that they won't be good enough. They start to feel their mind goes blank and they have that flight or fight response. They get flustered or feel angry, don't feel they're dealing with it well. They get very quiet. We have others that feel like they go into a shell or start to fight back.
Gosh, we've got a range. This is great.
I like it. I love feeling,
Not alone.
Not alone. So you're describing hugely, yeah. So
Okay, so we have one other question for us. What would others see and experience on the outside that when this is going on? And for me, we even had a situation earlier where I lost my confidence, and what I did is I actually curl forward, and I kind of hold my head when I'm sitting like this, and I'm like, whatever you want. And it has a bit of an edge, like, okay, fine, we'll do it your way, but it's not completely pure. It's kind of like with a little oomph, and so that's what Susan would see on the outside, like, fine, we'll do it your way. Okay.
And, what people see on the outside with me is a little of that CT missile. I tend to be hot, intense, and so I do look like one of those people who, is on the attack at the moment, and it can sound like that.
But what we really want to underscore, and I think you guys are getting at, that is actually a loss of confidence. So somebody like me can interpret it like, whoa, I can't compete. She's got all the confidence. But it's really, the fear is under both behaviors.
That did not come to me easily, but I really get now when I'm in that fight mode, it's actually because I've actually lost my confidence. So that was big information for me to get. That you guys are getting it so quickly, it's amazing. No, go ahead.
So Cody, any folks that are willing to share?
Yes, we do. We have others would see me get quiet and withdrawn. I get quiet with my responsives. I feel like I get cut down and you would only get 1 or 2 word responses from me, or I won't answer at all. I have a couple others that are more on the Susan side, that they kind of try to step up their game more and will get bigger in their appearance, they say. My personal, I kind of can fly between the two. It depends on the situation. We have some others that said that. Depends on who they're working with, if it's personal or business, if they will get big or if they're worried to hurt others.
Yeah, those are great answers. Thanks for sharing, you guys. It's perfect. Okay, so we're going to go into this content on how to do this. We just thought we'd give you some context for who we are so you know why we actually care about this stuff and are spending all this time teaching and working with people on it. So that's me, Chris Marie. I'm the youngest of 5, and my dad was an Army Colonel father. This is when we landed in Hawaii, and he had a lot of reasons to be upset. He had a tour in Korea, 2 in Vietnam, so he drank, and every night at dinner it was like running the gauntlet. It was unpredictable. It was almost like he's going to get mad at something. Please, for me, it was like, please don't get him mad. And my sister liked to kind of poke him and make him mad, which was just, we had different strategies in that. And so I learned really early on, I've got to figure out how to please this man and diffuse the tension. And so I learned how to ask questions to achieve so he'd be happy, because every night was like, what'd you do after school? What'd you do in school? So I wanted to tell him my achievements. And all that work led me to a really wonderful career. I developed a superpower of getting along with people. And it got me to the Olympics. I was in the 1988 Olympics in Seoul, Korea. I went to become an engineer because Dad said that would be a good job, so I did that. And that plane that you're looking at has my test equipment on it. I was a flight test engineer, that 777. And I went back and got my MBA and worked at Arthur Andersen. And again, this superpower really helped because I was dealing with organizations that needed to help people change. And so I was coaching executives on how to understand people and how to bring them along. But I was doing a lot of work and not bringing my voice forward very much. I had a back injury from the Olympics that I was trying to get fixed, so I had can you fix me? Can you fix me? Nobody could fix me. I had a relationship with another alcoholic. My dad was an alcoholic. My partner was. So there was not a lot of emotional connection. And in 1998, I just had a breakdown. And I didn't know why. Oh, what happened is they gave me a job to do at Arthur Andersen. They said, hey, we want you to lead this practice, this change management practice. That's what it was called. And no matter, I tried, but I could not figure out a strategy. It's like there was nothing there. I was so used to following and tell me what to do, tell me who to be and I'll become it, versus generating that from the inside. There was nothing there because I was focused on the inside out. And so this is when I started to learn, hey, I got to focus here. And so I went to Haven, I did Martha Beck, I did mind body coaching, and I got my life back. I got me back, really. It's like I collected pieces of myself, and I've become an actress. That's me in looking, that sexy picture up there. It's very fun. I played a sexy cop. I've become a painter. Those are my paintings. And Susan and I started our team. It was a lot of team and business strategy, helping people learn how to deal with conflict. And the iron-fisted power is not leadership. What that is me speaking up confidently with my opinion about my both UW and Olympic coach, who I found very abusive. And somebody else 30 years later had the confidence to speak out when she was in college. And I backed her up because I wish I could have done then what I did now and what she did. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, well, this is me, the little one. And I... that you're seeing me in the one or two times that I've worn a dress. You're probably seeing both on here, I think. But something about me was when I was little, I was full of energy. I think the word too was often in front of my name, like too loud, too imaginative, too this, too angry. Too angry. Oh, that was a big one. And, interestingly enough, I think where I took everything into my life was into sports, which was never made it to the Olympics, but a variety of different sports. And, eventually where I also felt the most comfortable was teaching and working with kids. And that's where I went when I got out of college, I was teaching. But my health, I was diagnosed with a very advanced cancer process.
Oh, sorry.
And interestingly enough for me, that was kind of like at a pinnacle where I really thought I was getting my life together. And suddenly there I was confronted by a number of things. First off, it took them a while to diagnose it because of various ways it was showing up. I had a lot of internal scar tissue that I couldn't explain to my doctors, so they didn't really believe me. I didn't know what the truth was. I was struggling to communicate with them. I was trying to sound confident about what I was saying, obviously, but what they were seeing was very different. So that actually created another whole problem for me, like, what's wrong with me type of thing. And eventually I started to find my way through it by saying, well, I really don't know why. I don't know how come I can't answer this. And I started to look deeper at why, what was showing up in my body, and eventually started to remember things. And it created a hell of a lot of problems in my life because some things were really pretty bad that had occurred earlier on. And not only that, but I started to but interestingly enough, that's when they diagnosed me with cancer. And that may sound like a bad thing, but suddenly there was a way to explain what was going on with my health. And I kind of began to look deeper at all of those issues. And also, realized that my health, like my cancers, because I had 4 cancers during a period of 7 years, there was a lot of that had to do with what I was denying and not saying. And I had to find a way to discover my voice and speak my truth through that process. And often it was quite difficult to do. So eventually, though, at the Haven, which is where, a place that I kind of call home for a long time, was where I really learned to find a path to do that, to use my voice in a way that I could speak up and even say, when I felt vulnerable or was lacking confidence. It may not look like that on the outside, but I could communicate that. And that's led me now to a few. Like I said, it broke up my family at the time, and we've now actually reconnected. That's them up there. I have a lot of really wonderful things going on in my life and world. I still continue to go to the Haven, and now I work with horses, which is just a wonderful
People
way.
and horses.
People and horses, not just, I'm not really a horse whisperer. I'm a people person, but
People whisperer.
Yeah, and the horses do all the work, which is really wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, and this is us. This is the second time when we got. You'll see Susan in a dress.
I am up there.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We had a wedding several years ago, and our families were there, and it was quite special. We started our business in 2002. We told you, and we did a TED Talk last year. Conflict, use it, don't diffuse it. And we both now also work at the Haven teaching programs there. So that's a little bit about us. Back to you guys. So we want to just let you know, we want to go into this area of signs and signals that you're losing your confidence, because, and that may seem silly, like, well, I know I'm losing my confidence. Some people just aren't aware. And the key is tapping into your energy, being aware of your energy, not just your mind. because we're human beings
Yeah.
and we're made up.
Well, we want to set up, because we're going in here with some assumptions, and we
Yeah.
believe many of you may already have these assumptions, but we wanted to tell you a little bit of where we're coming from to lay the groundwork for that, because we actually do think of all beings, but human beings, we're going to be talking about today, are made up of energy. And when we talk about that, you'll see in this next picture, these are all sort of different expressions of that energy, from movement to laughter to thinking to anger to yoga to all sorts
Meditation.
of meditation. Any of that is all an expression of that energy.
And here you are, so thinking about yourself, you have your beliefs, your wants, your context, which is where you live, your job, your gender, your background, and significant emotional events, which are all the things that have gone on in your lifetime that have had an impact on you, and also your feelings. So this is you.
And what happens is sometimes in your life, you're going through your life and you kind of put it all together somehow in this energy being that you are. And some new information comes in. Now, I want to give you just a quick example. I mean, we all know right now here in the States,
That's
in
right.
Australia, you may not know, but in Canada, I know you guys know because you're often talking to me about our politics. And because we're in a huge political experience right now.
That's it.
And, it's an interesting thing to go through because what happens, like there's one thing to look out on the screen and say, well, I know who I'm for and these people are this and that and keep it all outside of myself. But every once in a while, I have my candidate and I'm thinking, and I'm visiting a friend and I think I assume based upon my beliefs, wants, context, that they're my friend and I'm like, okay, I know exactly what to think. And
Who they're voting for.
And I happen to see their car drive up and it has a bumper sticker that's the exact opposite of me. That's the new information. And I'm like, oh my, what do I, and it's interesting. So what happens if I'm in a place where I'm, and right now, and I think we are in this political setting, we could be quite tight because there's worry, there's concern.
And this visual here, it's the same as you. It's this box is you with your beliefs, your wants, your significant emotional events. And when there's a lot of energy, there's not a lot of space in the container.
And I see that bumper sticker and I realize it's a close friend of mine that has it on it. And all of a sudden, two things, one, I might react. I likely will react, especially if it was unexpected or it's
The
very
surprise
different.
that one of you talked about. When you get surprised,
Yes.
Same idea.
And so there are various ways that we can react, and it shows up differently. But in that moment, I may lose my confidence, I lose my resources. It's like all of a sudden the rug got pulled out from underneath me, and I'm trying desperately to get back in control.
And so we have found that there's typically 4 ways people react. There's an emotional reaction. We're going to go through each one of these, but there's an emotional reaction, a physical one, a mental reaction, and a spiritual one. Any of them are going to lead to a low resource state. And just know, we're not saying that that's not going to happen. You are going to react, but it just leads to a low resource state. So we'll go through each one. So an emotional reaction is some of you were sharing, where you get angry and explode. That was kind of some of you said, or like implode, I'll get quiet and I won't say things. That's on the emotional plane. And do you have an example?
Well, I mean, a quick example might be the one I was just talking about, where I see something and suddenly I could get angry. I tend not to get angry at my best friend for the way they're voting, but I can get really angry at large when I'm watching the debates or somebody's telling me something, and it can seem very explosive. And I might, so that would be. But this can look different. We worked with an executive who, his style was, he was, because he had been doing lots of anger management courses when we first met him, and he had learned all this way to manage his emotion.
Which really meant suppress.
And so he was repeatedly over his career, and he was really bookmarked to take over this company, was getting, he'd have these explosions, which would then create all sorts of havoc. And people would be afraid of him. Some people, it sounded like it was pretty bad. And that could be one version of an emotional reaction. Or the other is somebody who you see just brewing. You can kind of see, but they actually are turning it on themselves, and they're maybe going inward, and they look distraught, but the energy is all going against themselves.
And I would say that was even my style, and I didn't actually look distraught because I had to fake it at my dinner table. So I have this veneer, and inside I'm like, oh my God, like I'm screwed, or I can't do this, or scared, whatever. And it's an implosion, but you wouldn't see it on the outside. So that's the emotional reaction. The mental reaction is when you get overly rational or too objective. So it's like all your energy goes to your head, you're cutting off, and you're going to think your way through it. Let me problem solve this. Let me get another solution. I get obsessive or...
Right. Like I know when my emotional reaction has done nothing but create more problems, I go to a mental reaction. Equally separate, where I obsess about it, I redo it. Like I'm replaying the situation over and over again in my head. And now that's not someone who goes to that as their more first choice is usually, and this shows up often in our coaching where we're often working with executives in a business setting. And for them, we had this one guy, CEO of his company. I mean, he was so analytical. And to the point where anything that would come up, he would analyze it literally to the place of paralysis.
Yeah.
And, it was actually costing their company a significant amount of time and effort because to actually get moved to the next step wasn't happening because he would become too rational and too objective in that moment.
I even had a mind body client, so she came to me to work on her mind body, and because she was really cut off from her emotions and cut off from her body, and she was so she was trying to live her life logically, so she was in a constant mental reaction logically, and she kept getting sick and things didn't work and she couldn't figure it out, and she kept trying to figure it out. So that's the mental reaction.
Okay, physical reaction.
Yes, I teed up and you could deep.
Okay.
So a physical reaction is somebody who's having physical symptoms or starts to overdo. So even in the middle of a meeting or I got a headache, I can't stand. Like if you're sitting around a situation and you're like, I have a headache, I can't deal with that. That's your physical reaction coming online to kind of dissipate that.
So, I mean, and that's kind of the classic example of an actual physical symptom. I mean, we've actually seen people develop, colds, flu, a lot of times the physical reaction. And then that can happen very easily. And you may not think of it because it's not like it's psychosomatic. Like Chris Marie had a back injury, but I can almost guarantee that those physical symptoms of her back being in pain showed up more frequently in a reaction than they would any other time.
Yeah, when I was stressed and not feeling like I could communicate, my back would hurt. And that would also give me an excuse to, I can't stay here. I've got to go take care of my back. And there's also good to give
the other of this is the overdoing, and this is kind of an even more classic. You may not recognize physical symptoms, but this physical reaction. But you start, like you're worried something happens, and you start cleaning up the house obsessively. This
is mine.
Or like myself, I'm not a cleaner of the house, but if I have a physical reaction to something, I want to go for a run. And I one time was visiting my family of origin for a family retreat, and I ran 36 miles over a 2-day period, which I'm not that kind of runner. I'm not an ultra marathoner or do that kind of distance. So that says something that could have said something to me if I had looked at what I was, I didn't even know it. But so that would be the overdoing.
Right. Okay. And the same thing can happen even you go into work, you overwork, you over whatever, action, taking too much action. The spiritual reaction is when you're sitting in the middle of conflict and you want to rise above, like, I'm not going to let this bother me. Or you want to bracket it off and compartmentalize it.
And, this can take the form of someone who's like, okay, I think of a friend of mine who's a very well-trained medical person, knows a lot of things, and really believed that the answer to working in the ER was to do yoga on a regular basis, and would do yoga before any ER work that he would go in to do because that would keep him calm. But he actually started to have to do yoga for hours, like 1 hour, then 2 hours, then 3 hours to even get to any kind of sense of settling. And, actually the real telltale sign of whether yoga is really working for you or not is if you're doing your yoga and somebody happens to disturb you and you blow up at them, you're probably using it as a spiritual reaction. Or like another friend of mine who was a yoga teacher said, I know I'm in trouble when I got my speeding ticket, heading to my yoga to get to my yoga class. So those are just, that on the one hand, meditation, any of that could be a good thing. And sometimes it's in reaction to something else to kind of rise above it. The other piece of this is compartmentalization, which is where work is work, home is home. And a quick example of this was working with a guy who was, all of a sudden he was a kind of a very positive leader in his company, but things started to go a little off. There was some stress at work, but people who were reporting to him were really having difficulties with his behavior, and actually I got called in to coach him. And what was fascinating was when we finally it was the first time he said, I'm dealing with my mother who's got dementia, I'm putting her in her home. He had told no one about that. No one had a clue. And so it really wasn't work that was creating some problems. I mean, it was hard for him to tell me. And I finally suggested, you might want to tell people at work. And he goes, no, I got to keep them separate. But finally, he felt the relief he had by telling me, so he did that. And it was huge for him. It didn't mean people, everything shifted. And all it took was him just breaking down those compartments. So compartmentalization is another sign of the spiritual reaction.
Okay. Now the key, hopefully you're noticing, and actually we could just even check in and see and note. So type in if you.
Do we have that?
Oh, we do.
Coming up?
We do. Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, hold on.
So be thinking what we want you to do. We have a poll for you, but we want you to start to pay attention and see which one of these you relate to as your kind of go-to response. Because the issue with reacting is when we're in that reaction, we're going to do it. Okay, we're not saying you're not going to do it. But usually we're trying to get rid of something like I don't want to feel, I don't want to think about this. And there's a right, wrong, and you're separating yourself from all this resource, and you're not operating holistically. So you're really shooting yourself in the foot if you think it's a good thing. That's a problem. And the usual approach is to try to gain control with your mind, because that's our kind of cultural bias. We want to obsess, analyze, problem solve, or get into action. And that leads to a low resource state, kind of an overemphasized mind. And it really reinforces a divided self and focuses on the mind, which we already have too much focus on, leading to limited resources. Okay. I think the poll's coming. Oh, so I think the poll was supposed to be here.
Do we have a poll,
Cody?
We thought we did. This would be the poll on which of the...
Oh, there it is!
Thank you. Which is your typical reaction, or which is the one you're most familiar with? And we're going to ask you to pick one for right now, but... and if you want to say more, you can type it into
the chat
box. So apparently we're waiting to see some of the results coming in, and I don't know, you guys.
There we go. Mental. We got mental. Okay. One person responded, and this is just your typical. Don't worry. You're not committing to anything if you say you're emotional or physical or whatever. Okay. We're just trying to get what you relate to.
Okay. We're getting some results now. Thank you for participating. We love it. And we see some things coming in. We'll give it a little bit more time.
Well, it looks like right now, most people can relate to the emotional reaction and the mental reaction. Not so much the physical and the spiritual. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. The poll is closed.
Oh, and we got some other responses, it looks like.
We do have some that said that they definitely do have a physical response and can feel more of their physical pain that they've had like their entire life, some chronic pain issues that they feel is related to not speaking up. And then we have several that commented that they can have all of the above.
Okay. Good. We should have put that on.
Yeah, all of the above. We need to add another caveat area there. All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Cody. Yeah. And I appreciate you guys sharing.
Yes.
And that is true with that physical, the chronic, like my back, and I had allergies. All of that is, I find, that shifts when I am able to speak up about what's going on for me. So let's talk about that, because there is another way. You can, that tight little container where the reaction happens, you can expand your container. So here you are again with your beliefs, wants, significant emotional events, feelings. That new information comes in, the reactions happen, but there's another choice, and you can respond. And the response is to expand and include what's happening rather than try to get rid of what's happening, and that leads to a whole self. So here's another version of it. You're actually expanding your physical container, making more room for that new information to come in.
But not getting rid of anything. That's the key difference. And so what do we mean by that? So let's, because that's not easy to do. Because in that moment where something comes up and it bumps you, it's much easier, I think, in the moment to just get rid of it. Get rid of it.
That's our habit reflex, is to react and turn away from it to try to get rid of it.
Well, first, we do think that the real key here, and this is where we're kind of taking you on a different path, and maybe not for many of you on this, but we think the body is the doorway to this, and that your body is actually the access. Now, why your body? Because your body is where sensation lies, and sensation and perception, your senses, are an amazing way. We have much more information than you could ever have from just one, either a mental capacity, even an emotional capacity. There's 72 feeling words, but there are thousands, a million bits of sensory information.
Well, our body takes in more information than our brain does. It processes more information.
Yeah. So we were starting there.
Okay. So we want to give you some simple tools. You can practice them while you're on this training, and they can give you real-time relief to settle yourself. So the goal is to settle your nervous system, land in and utilize your body, and expand your physical container. So one thing I want, before we go into these, I want you just to track, and maybe if you have a piece of paper, just notice what you're aware of, what's your mind doing right now, and you may be just attentive and listening, but are you worrying about something like what you're going to have for dinner or the work you have to do? Notice what's happening in your body, if you're aware of anything. And also, are you aware of any emotional energy right now? Just check in and notice those three pieces. And just jot that down. And then,
first, the most obvious thing, which, it's change your breath and you change your life. The reality of it is breathing is our best resource, and we don't use it nearly to the capacity that we could.
Yes. So we want to give you a simple conscious breathing tool, and it's called 426. And we're going to actually take you through this. But the idea, and we're only going to do this 2 to 3 times, but we want you to do this and then notice how you feel. So just put down your pen, and you can even close your eyes. And then what we want you to do is take a breath and let it all out. And then inhale for the count of 4. So do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then hold. 2. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just notice now what you're aware of. Maybe the same, but notice what your mind's doing. Notice the sensations in your body. And notice any emotional energy that you're aware of. And
I was going to say, this is actually something that I'm in various meetings where things come up. We deal with conflict. And I've told you a little bit about my reaction sometimes in those types of situations. So this has been a huge thing that I can do without really anyone even knowing I'm doing it, which can make a huge difference in how I handle a situation live time. So I know for me, even doing it right now, I just sort of feel a little heavier in the seat and sinking in a little bit more.
And if anybody's willing to type in if you did notice anything different, we'd love to hear that. And you just took 3 breaths. That's all it was. And I didn't even tell you what you were going to do with the 426. Sorry about that. Inhale for 4, hold for 2, and exhale for a longer exhale. Really helps bring online your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. So it really supports taking you out of that fight or flight response. So we'll go on, but we'd love to hear.
Oh, we got some responses. Hey, Cody.
Yeah. So I'm just feeling more in my body, not as much in my mind and scattered. There's definitely more focus. And personally, I just have that more relaxed. I feel my shoulders fall down. I just am not as much at my computer. I can just take that breath back and just relax a little more.
Excellent. You know, and this is something that you can do anytime during your day, not even in conflict, to kind of access more of your resources because we get too focused up here. Okay.
Or, you know, we keep saying conflict. And also, anytime, even when you're at home and you feel like you're losing your sense of mojo or confidence, because that's really what we're referring to.
Because you're reconnecting back into your body. The breath connects the mind to the heart and the body. So the other thing, this is a really simple tool, and you can do it right now, is just ground yourself by feeling your feet. Your awareness is your number one commodity, so how you spend it is very powerful. So bring your awareness down to your feet right now. You can wiggle your toes or swipe your feet on the floor to kind of wake up the bottoms. And just even imagine grounding cords going out the soles of your feet into the earth, deep, deep, deep into the earth. You can also include your seat in this and feel your bum in the chair. And again, a grounding cord from your tailbone going down, down, down. And I know when I do this, just even right now, there's a settling in my system, a calming. So that you can do, and nobody knows is the wiser. Okay.
And
go ahead.
This last one is one that I have found really helpful. And it's a simple, you know, again, you're just sitting there. Maybe you've done the 4-2-6 breath. You may have been grounding and rubbing your feet. And then this is what we think of as tapping. And in the tapping, you're just letting yourself alternate from side to side. Maybe you have your hands down on your calves, wherever it can be. Very
not calves, thighs.
Thighs. Yeah, sorry.
You don't have to go.
You know, but you're just sitting up, and then you just tap from side to side, just gently with your fingers. Or you could even do it with your toes on the floor. Either of those can work. And as you're doing it, you just internally ask yourself the question, am I safe? And if you get the answer yes, just go with the tapping. If for some of you, you don't get the answer yes, you may want to ask, am I physically safe? Like in this moment, am I physically safe? Because that's another way to just, it's here and now. And then I know for me, sometimes once I've gotten to that point of yes, and I'm tapping, the thing to also ask myself is, am I safe? Is it safe to feel safe? Is it okay to feel safe? Is kind of how I put it. And then, you know, if I get a yes, I tap that in. And that tapping is a way to actually ground it and more, you know, what's the word?
Metabolize. What the brain is actually, the way we sleep is that RM. This is bilateral stimulation. So your eyes go side to side. That's how your brain digests your day. This is actually how your brain is digesting what's happening right now. And you're reminding yourself, am I safe? Yeah, there are not saber-toothed tigers attacking me right now. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And it's another settling thing, because especially in that fight or flight response in the midst of conflict, if that does come up where you're surprised, this is a great way to reground yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the 3 tools: breath, grounding feel your feet, and this tapping. Am I safe? Okay.
Now, we do believe that actually any time that you've lost access to your resources and because of a reaction or because of anything else, the key is how do you, you know, like first, how do you ground, well, the first piece was awareness, become aware of the fact that you're in one of those reactions. The second is, okay, what can you do in this moment to expand your container and include more of even that reaction so that you can begin to access more of your energy and get your confidence back. And now this is like, so what else can you do to move that forward?
And this might be something you do after you've left a situation where you lost your confidence. And there's simple steps to help you get bigger than what's bothering you, that loss of confidence. And the simple thing is a phrase called something in me. And this just pares down your reaction to size, meaning a lot of times we think, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm obsessing, or I'm angry, or I'm hurt, and it's rather than having that all encompass all of you, recognize that it's just something in me is overwhelmed, something in me is obsessing, and something in me is afraid, or whatever it is for you. So you might even just try that right now with whatever you're feeling. Just try, instead of saying I'm angry or I'm hurt, something in me, and notice the felt sense shift in your body.
Honestly, I mean, I even use this sometimes, and it helps even in a conversation for me to say, you know, something in me there's a part of me that doesn't like this. Anything to kind of create, this isn't all of me. Right now, like with you, I know sometimes because I know if I have too big of reaction, that's not, So I might say, hey, something in me doesn't like where we're going right now. Not all of me. Because it not only do I think it helps me, but I also think it may help the other person realize I'm not a freight train right now. I could cut this down to size,
And that's great. And what you're doing when you're saying something in me is you're actually cultivating the larger you. So there's the something in you that's vulnerable, whether it's afraid, whatever, reacting. And there is you, the larger you, that can be with that part that feels vulnerable. So it's not alone, and that not aloneness is very healing, because right away you shift your consciousness. You actually access a different part of your brain, a different part of your heart, and you can hold for this part of you that's reacting. So that's the goal in the something in, or the impact of using the phrase something in me.
And then, once you've had that, you've recognized that something, then you want to be able to turn towards that part of you that may be feeling vulnerable, that may be feeling scared or even angry, and say hello to it in a manner of fact, kind of like an adult talking to a child. Not because you don't need to say I love you, you're wonderful, but
a screaming child is
not actually, it's not very helpful to tell a screaming child I love you right there. They're angry, they hate you, and it's probably not going to seem very congruent to tell them that, so what would be more is like, I don't know, I know this, I can say hello to you, and I want to say hello to you. So, it's a sensible kind of response.
And the last piece is actually putting a gentle hand on the part of your body that you sense is upset. Like it could be your belly if you've got a tight gut, or your diaphragm, or your heart, or even sometimes my jaw is really tight and I'll put my hands here. And that actually brings soothing contact. So you're acknowledging there's something in you that's upset. You've said hello, I know you're there. Hey, here I am with you. And it actually fires oxytocin in your brain, which is the connecting ingredient in our bodies. I don't know if it's a hormone, but it actually soothes your system and lets that part. So you don't always need to have somebody there. You can be that container that's holding for this part that's reacting. So those are the simple steps. Something in me, say hello, put a gentle hand, as a way of settling your system and being with what's upset.
So we believe that confidence is about being more of your whole self and having access to all your resources, not just your mind, not just your physicality, not just your emotions, not just your spirituality, but to have access to all of it.
And so when you do that, you have that expand and include, doing these to expand your container, you access more of your whole self. So our takeaways are, one, we really want you to become aware and know what your typical reaction is, or if those of you that can experience all of them, know which one you're in at the time, and expand your container with breathing, feeling your feet, tapping, and then cut it down to size. That SIM is something in me, say hello, and a gentle hand. So those are ways to actually re-access your confidence in the moment. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, one of my questions I have here is, my reaction isn't necessarily what other people are seeing. They think I'm angry, I'm not really feeling angry. How do I get those to match better?
That's a good question.
Well, for me, that's a standard state. I get a lot of feedback a lot of times that I look angry, and it's been inconsistent for me with what I've internally felt. So one of the first things that took me that I had to do was ask for some feedback about what it is someone was seeing that they were interpreting as me being angry. And that was actually hugely helpful when somebody was able to give me that feedback, that they, I kind of could, my jaw was going. My answers were a little clipped and terse. I didn't maintain eye contact. It wasn't like all those things, but I could put the pieces together and say, okay, then I can get how someone might get to that I'm angry. So that was a huge piece of it without making myself wrong, because then I could kind of play around with, all right, something in me might be angry and defensive, because like I said, for me, often when I lose my confidence, it's because I feel like I've been undercut or something. So something in me is angry. Something else in me, when I said, when I kind of gave that a little space, I could also turn, something in me feels really vulnerable here too. And that's when I began to recognize, oh, that's what I'm not showing. That's what I'm not talking about. But it took me a while to kind of match those up. So hopefully that's one.
I just have another answer, because I can pass and people won't know that I'm upset because I was so good at doing that at home. So my task is actually, how can I show up more and find my voice and speak up? And in our program, Be Brave, we talk a lot more about bringing your voice forward when you have that cutoff reaction. And that's been life-changing to have more of that. Any other questions? This is great. Or if you guys want to say how the tools work for you, or if you struggled or had questions, we're very open to that as well.
Perfect. And one other was touching more on the spiritual questions, how I'd know if it's a spiritual reaction versus a mental reaction.
Yeah, because those two are kind of similar.
Well, I think, the biggest thing when, in the obsessiveness, you're kind of repeatedly asking the question why and looking for some kind of answer, expert answer outside of yourself. Like, if I could just get
the right answer,
talk to the expert, get the right answer, I would have what?
I can recognize that one.
Whereas the spiritual reaction is more, if I can just center and ground myself
and stay calm,
I will be able to access a larger, be it God, be it prana, be it, something larger that is going to, and rise above this human messiness. And that's really the difference, I think, between a true spiritual connected response, which isn't usually rising above, and versus I know I'm in my spiritual reaction when it's actually so. Yeah, I can do the spiritual reaction with Chris Marie. She should know this communication model better. And once she gets it, we are going to have much better dialogue. That is definitely a spiritual reaction coming forward, even though it can sound.
There's a sense of being better than. Yes. You have an internal sense of, I'm going to rise above and I'll be better than you will be. Yeah. And these lowly people will slowly, she'll catch up.
Well, if I just meditate long enough, I will be able to have compassion for this person who is driving me nuts.
Okay. Good questions. Okay. So this is just a little snippet, and we were really focusing on that internal process of how you deal with reactions so you can gather yourself to speak up. But if you want more, we have something just for you, which is our Be Brave program. Find your voice, speak your truth, and feel heard. And this is a 6-week program to help you have empowered conversations in all areas of your life, in a business conference room, asking for a raise, dealing with your spouse, dealing with your best friend, whatever it is, for you to find your voice and make sure you're saying what you really want to say.
Yeah, in our previous programs, we've had everything from high-powered business, executives to people who are doing, solo entrepreneurs and work.
Yeah.
So, a number of different situations.
Whole range.
Yes.
Okay. And this is Jennifer who took our program, and she was struggling between her nonprofit work and starting her own business. And what she got is she got the sense of using conflict as a catalyst for establishing healthy boundaries and effective communication, and built the strength and resilience in her relationships. Robin had difficulty setting boundaries both with her employees and in her personal relationships, and she felt like she got simple, practical tools that supported her speaking up and showing up authentically. And
well, she liked us.
She does.
She thought we were really nice.
I like that. And so what do you get if you do the 6-week program? Well, each module has a different focus.
We start off by talking about, uncovering the root cause of what's going on for you. And we do that. We have some we'll introduce you to kind of our broader model of looking at that, and then give you some ways of beginning to look at it more closely for yourself so that you can begin to see how you can reset. Because a lot of this program is all about introducing you, why we like it over the 6-week period, introducing you to some things, having you go out in the world, live it, try it, see what happens, and in the context of a supportive type of setting, be able to come back and say, oh my God, that was a disaster, or this did not work, and hear from other people get some more input.
Mm-hmm. And it really helps you regain hope for your most important relationships, if any of you are struggling there. Module 2 is learn how to settle yourself in the midst of conflict. We'll give you a little bit of tools of that. We go through a whole lot more, really working with the nervous system to help you find your voice and feel empowered and not be in that habitual react and turn away, but how can you actually work through that and settle and then regain your strength.
So the module 3, we start to talk about how you may be sabotaging your own success, because often people I work with think that their issue is about their own incompetence or their own inability. 9 times out of 10, that's actually not what's going on. It could be an upper limit issue. It could be something in their thought process. There's a number, or a belief system that's getting in the way. There's so many different ways that we sabotage ourselves. And one of the biggest ones is that we are afraid of abundance. We are afraid of the full magnificence of who we are. And that's one that a lot of people don't pay attention to. So we're going to be spending a lot of time looking at not just the obvious ways you may be sabotaging through a story or a belief system, but going beyond that into some of the ways you may not be thinking about.
So you begin to speak up with clarity and feel grounded and solid in conversations. And module 4 is we're going to give you kind of concrete tools of how to have tough conversations. This is how to break it down, how to listening. There's lots of different things that we use both in business and in couples and in personal relationships to help people be successful, because that often is, we think, oh, I can have this tough conversation, and you haven't actually prepared for it at all. You've obsessed about it, but not prepared. Different. So
Very
this,
different.
yes.
I won't go down. Never mind. I will stay off the political thing about practice and how it applies. So we'll go carry on.
But this will help you become confident to speak up and feel heard.
And module 5, we'll begin to look at this whole idea of boundaries, because we have a very, that's such a common used word, set of boundaries. We really think of it's very different. It's an energetic thing, for one thing. And it really isn't a wall or a definitive statement. There's a lot more to it. It's a living, breathing opportunity for dialogue, for something else, to come to the edge of where you are. And we often don't see it like that. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time about that. It's also the underlying piece that will tell you something about where your resentment is coming from.
And how to resolve that so you
Yes.
can feel more free. And the last module, we're going to actually cover much more in depth this whole reaction process and how to deal with yours, but also how to deal with somebody else's, so that you start to feel secure and confident stepping into any conversation rather than avoiding and making your world small and trying to manage, or, oh, I better not go there because I'm going to feel this way. You're going to develop your own sense of
Because really, what we want to say in this one, too, is that we know, it's not like you're going to get rid of the train wrecks. You're not going to get rid of the things that happen. I think people often think, once I get better, I'll stay better. We actually believe, no, you're going to ride the waves, but ride those waves so that you actually can feel confident about knowing how to swim, basically.
Yeah, you'll be bigger than.
Yes.
Okay. And so these are the 3 different options for Be Brave. We start Be Brave October 11th, and it's a 6-week program. And we have a Tuesday call, which is an educational piece, and then we have a group coaching call on Thursdays, and that'll be through a video conference. And we've limited this to 15 people because we want it to be intimate and for you to get the coaching that you really want.
And we'll also have a Facebook group, and the sessions are recorded.
Yeah, so if the schedule doesn't work, don't worry, because you'll be able to listen to that. Listen to all the calls.
The second option is we do the same thing, but we add some one-on-one coaching for you, and we have 3 sessions. So you'll have a private session with Chris Marie, with myself, and a private session with both of us together, plus a little bit of swag.
Yes.
So we're limiting that to 8 people.
And the idea is really taking these tools and applying them really directly to your situation and getting that personal one-on-one time. And
we've done both of these options in the past and found them highly successful. So that's why we want to keep offering them. And this time we're adding our new one, which is we're going to add in addition to getting the program, 6-week program, and you're going to get more coaching. You'll have 6 sessions with us. And then the real bonus here is that we have a 3-day in-person retreat right here in Whitefish, Montana, which is really exciting. And when you come here, you're going to get a chance to work with the horses. And then you're also going to get a lot more body-mind training with Chris Marie. Everything is included in this. Luxury accommodations.
You just get yourself to Whitefish and we take care of everything else. And this is limited to 6 people. So if you're interested, you should jump on it because it's going to be a really neat experience. And we'll show you a little bit more. So this is a summary because that slide was like heinous. It's so busy. But you've got Be Brave, which is October 11th, 15 people. Be Brave plus coaching, limited to 8. Be Brave, coaching, more coaching, Be Brave coaching, and the 3-day limited to 6 people. And if you're interested, you can sign up right now if you go to those links down below. And the 3-day in-person retreat, here's our little town in November. This is a November shot. It's beautiful, very charming. And we said we get all these things with the 3-day retreat. But we found these luxurious accommodations. They're beautiful. These private suites that you'll have. You're going to get time with Susan and the horse in the round pen, and that's one of our people that was in Be Brave with the white horse there at the bottom. And you're also going to get gourmet food. There's going to be morning yoga. There's so much stuff we're going to actually provide for you.
And you
So
may even get to
exciting.
meet our dog, Rosie.
That's Rosie running towards you right there. And so if you're ready to be brave, we hope you are. We'd love, love, love to work with you. This 6-week program is valued at $1,250, but we're offering it $597 because we just think it's an awesome program. And here are the pricing for the 3: $597, the Be Brave with Coaching $997, and the 3-day retreat $39.97. And that is a steal and deal there. And today only today. This ends. I think it's about 10 p.m. tonight. Mountain time. So be aware. We're giving you a fast action bonus. So if you decide today, you can actually sign up for Be Brave. The $597. It's going to be $497. So you get $100 off. The $997 goes down to $797, $200 off, and the Be Brave, the in-person goes down to $34.97. You get $500 off. So to find those, you can go to the links down below and sign up. And we really want you to. This is the last. We're going to be offering this today, but this is our last free training. So we're not sure this is going to be around. And you also get the 6 intuitive types. So this is how you get it. You sign up for Be Brave, and you get this $250 value.
And that includes an assessment, an online assessment, the report, and a video lesson with us telling you a little bit more about how to utilize those things in your life.
And if you're doing any of the coaching options, we will totally incorporate. We'll even talk about it in the Be Brave process. So
yes.
And we also have, if you bring a friend, because this is so much fun to do together, you'll get $100 off, a credit for anything that you are
for upgrading
to any of the options, and your friend will get $100 off of any of the options. So you'll get an email about that. And here's Terry. So she's a CEO. She had a work partnership that wasn't working and a marriage that wasn't working when we started. And she stepped into the CEO role, multi-million-dollar business, and she is rocking it. She's successfully leading that organization to increasing revenues each year. She feels alive, bold, and free. And she amicably ended her marriage. She went through a huge transformation in a really positive way, and a tough situation.
Yeah.
And Joanne, she was wrestling with whether to take these different positions, and the process that she went through with us helped her negotiate what she needed. Yeah, she said, I want this, and Susan was like, ask for it. And she's like, I can't do that, and she did, and they gave it to her and more. So it was very neat. So she really valued the program. So we will open it up for questions. If you have questions right now.
And don't worry about that. We just sort of like the 15 minutes. It's not really even working. It was on the slide. So look at that.
Oh, it's working now.
But don't worry. Fast action bonus for Q&A is basically what it means right now, because that fast action bonus will last longer. We don't know why it's working today. It hasn't worked other days. But we'd love to hear from you. And if you have some questions.
If you have questions about the content or the program, either one, we're happy to answer that.
Okay, Cody.
You bet. So I have one question about the replay and their options and how long this is going to be available to purchase.
Okay. So the replay will go out. It takes us a while to convert it. The email will go out about 5 p.m. tonight, our time, or earlier, and that'll be live for 3 days. To get the bonuses, the $100, $200, $500 off, that's only available today if you sign up today. And then we will...
And you have till 10 p.m. Mountain Time on that.
Yeah, so depending on where you are.
It's a computer thing.
Yeah, be aware of that. And the Bring the Friend bonus is available after. You can still get that. If you sign up today and then you find a friend on Saturday, you'll still get that Bring a Friend bonus.
We'll go on to that. Or if you know you're not going to be able to sign up today, but you want to sign up tomorrow, you could still get the Bring a Friend bonus when it comes in. It just won't apply to you. It'll apply for you to upgrading, and your friend could get the program for $100.
And we will keep the enrollment open until we have we fill all the slots, the 15, the 8, and the 6. So but we don't know how soon or how fast that happens. So I remember I wanted to do a program, and I waited, and I lost the freaking spot, and I was so missed. I was so frustrated. So don't let that happen to you. We'd love to work with you.
Yes.
So other questions?
Other like content question is there a way to help others? If I'm really trying to ground myself and realize this, is there a way to help others realize when they're seeming very reactive? I feel like I'm putting a lot of my effort into doing this. Is there something I can do to help who I'm having this conflict with?
That's so funny.
I'm laughing.
I've always tried to change
She's
her.
always.
The mistake, we do not suggest you do this. I think we're both getting defensive. Does not work. It only works to incite the other person. So don't do that.
I do think, I do appreciate though, you can be, my experience is live it, you probably heard this, live it to give it. Like, if you are willing to kind of take care of yourself in that situation, that is palpable. Remember, we're energetic beings. People will experience that. And you don't have to change the other person. They actually will have their own experience. I also am a big believer in resonance. So whatever and it's not like you want to match the energy. So if you go to this is where the spiritual reaction, you may think you're being great because you're being loving. But if the other person is like ripping furious at you, that's probably not making much sense to them. So you might be actually trying to get them to a more open space. It's probably not going to work to do it that way. You have to, okay, I'm open, and I don't know that I like where you are right now. I'm struggling with that, and I'm still here. But you see, I'm not pretending that it's all great, but I'm also not trying to necessarily change them. So I'm hoping that...
it's kind of the idea of put your own oxygen mask on first, so take care of your own system. And Susan's saying, that physically... that energy, people feel that. When I feel safe and settled, it provides kind of a larger resonance for somebody to be able to drop in.
Well, and I was just thinking, it's kind of like, when we were talking earlier, it's not about getting rid of a part of yourself. So we all can probably relate to the fact, like, I don't like it when I'm in my reactivity, and I can see that I'm spewing out on the world. But the one thing I know is if I turn to that part of me that's reacting and say, get the hell out of here, you're a problem, change now, not much is going to change. I think we could, probably you guys can agree with that. The same thing is true if you look across the room at somebody and say, you're being an idiot, you need to change now. Likely, or, you should be more loving. Those sort of things probably,
they kind of
rejecting the person versus, wow, you are having, I think you got a lot of energy about this, and tell me where I'm wrong, what's going on. But meet them there instead of trying to get rid of them.
And be curious more about what is happening. So even asking like, wow, I'm noticing your pacing or your volume's gone up. What is going on for you right now? Yeah. So they would be kind of checking it out, which those are some of the tools we talk about and how to have tough conversations. Mm-hmm. Other questions, Cody?
I think you covered a lot of it right there. So all good on my end.
Okay. Well, if you guys do have other questions, please let us know. And even if you wanted to, I was hoping people would share the impact of using the tools. So I don't know if anybody's willing to type in what you noticed with the breathing or the grounding or even the tapping. And if you had any questions about how that works or what that's about, we'd be happy to answer that. And Cody, I don't know if you could also put the link in the chat box. I would put the thriveinc.com in the shop because that's where you would put the promo codes for each of the options for the signups. If you could do that, that would be great.
Okay, I was just thinking a little bit more about. Good. You don't have to listen to me. What's the question?
We had one that wanted to be a little more clear on the tapping. If you could demonstrate and kind of reiterate what you mean by the tapping.
Yeah. So one of the ways you can do it is just cup your hands like this, and you can even do it. I'm trying to figure out where I'm on the camera. You can even do it on your shoulders. It's just. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. It's just alternating tapping, and I'm not tapping very hard. You can even do it, really gently, or you can tap your feet.
It could look a little weird if you're in a meeting doing this. I mean, this is actually a good way any other time.
So you could also do it on your thighs. That's what Susan was. but we couldn't actually show you.
I didn't. Yeah, you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty simple thing. But remember, internalizing, and I'll be honest, I have a little bit of a reaction to the word safe because I actually don't think the world is safe, period. But that's because it's a mental construct. But, probably don't need to hear all that from me. So I do say things like, am I okay? Am I okay right now? In this moment, am I? And I will repeat internally that question until I have a yes. Using my breath, being aware of the sensations I'm feeling. And when I start to hear the answer yes back, which I can hear, I do the tapping. And that's actually a way to kind of anchor it in my body.
Mm-hmm. And what you're doing is you're just really digesting your current experience. Your brain is actually digesting you're helping your brain digest your current experience. That's why taking a walk is so helpful too, because you're doing that natural bilateral stimulation, meaning you're just, naturally walking is bilateral, and that's how we digest our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So,
great question.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
And when you put them all together, the breathing, the grounding, the tapping, you have a lot more resource. Mm-hmm. And then you also have the after care, which is the something in me, hello, and putting a gentle hand. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Oh. Odie pops up.
Sorry, I was a little slow there. They're just finished typing. What do you mean fully by to be okay or be safe? Are you talking physically safe, or what does it mean just to be okay?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is where it really it varies. Like Chris Marie was saying, a lot of times you can't get to safe or okay until you get that you're actually physically,
I actually, and this is another tool we talk about, is I actually look around the space, I turn my head and I ask, am I physically safe right now? Meaning, there's nobody that's physically attacking me, physically hitting me, the walls aren't coming in, I'm not, there's not somebody about to, hurt me. And that actually, just even that helps. I take a breath. When I did the tapping, if you watch the re-recording, I took a breath when that happens. So, and it just kind of settles my system, because our fight or flight gets so quick thinking we're under attack.
And I think you are much more of a concrete sensation, is my
Am I physically
environment safe?
Yeah.
I am probably a little bit more of a contextual, it's a little bit more of, in this moment, am I okay with whatever chaotic thing is happening around me? Because sometimes it's not physical, something else has stirred me up. So my okayness may look different. So it's like just asking myself that question, can I be okay, even in the chaos, even in the physical pain that I'm in, even in the state of high reactivity in this moment, am I okay?
It's kind of like, I think for me, because I was using this when Susan and I had a disagreement, and she was in her reaction. I was in mine. So I was like, uh-oh, she's mad at me. And something in me gets activated, like, oh my gosh, I'm not safe. And when I do this, I'm like, well, am I safe? Can I tolerate her being upset? And am I still okay? Am I still breathing? And it's just, so I guess the sense of safety is physical, but it's also nothing bad is happening right now. Even though she's over there being mad at me, I'm still here, and I access a larger part of me. So there's more of me.
And in a way, this you've given me a chance to extrapolate more on this concept of mine that, safety really is a mental construct. So, one thing to look at is just thinking about, and this is something you do when you're actually in a good feeling kind of sense of well-being, how do you define safety? And begin to look at it, because that's going to give you clues as to how it shows up for you, because it is very different. Like, for Chris Marie, I think it's quiet. The space around her is neat and tidy.
And everybody loves me and is really happy with me.
I mean, you just jumped out of that one. But I mean, versus me, I can be in a very
messy place.
I'm not sure. It's very interruptive. She is.
I'll stop.
But sometimes for me, I can have I like it when there's a lot of activity. Like I like to go right in a coffee shop, for me, when there are other people around, where there's a lot of noise around, I actually feel quite safe. I don't feel so safe sitting sometimes in my own house. That can be a little different for me. So, but that has to do with I've looked at what is my mental construct around safety. And it's been helpful even for us to talk about that because,
Well, it comes up in a different working
Yeah.
style, and I'm like, go to the coffee shop because I want my quiet space, and she's
Yeah.
happy with her more stimulating space.
yeah, so.
Yeah. Good question. Any other question, folks? Well, we'd love to work with you over the 6 weeks to help you feel more confident, find your voice, speak up, and feel safe.
And if you do come up with any questions, feel free
you can email
to
us.
email us. There you have it, Thrive It, or anything like that. So we have.
Yeah, and if you do go to the links and go to the thriving.com shop, that's where you're going to put in the promo codes of Brave 100, Brave 200, Brave 500 to get the discounts. I just want to.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to sign off. We
Thank
hope we get a
you.
chance to work with you, and thank you for your time. And we'd love to
And
stay
if-
connected.
Yeah, stay connected with us. Either way.
Yeah. If
All
you
right.
don't do Be Brave, we'll find us on Facebook, and we'd just love to stay connected.
All right.
Okay. Bye. We have to figure out how to turn it off, right?
It's all right. Cody's gonna